It's official, people. We all have experienced trauma. At some point in our lives now, we all officially can say that we have experienced some sort of trauma. Whether it's trauma where, your mom and dad, and I was talking about this a lot on episode, and use your name to get electric bill, phone bill, cable bill. Yes, I'm going to run that into the ground. If they did that, you experienced financial trauma of trying to dig yourself out of a hole where your family effed up your credit before you even be able to buy a car or your first house or hell, get your first loan. Or you experienced some sort of trauma due to some other family issues or family curses that came through. Or maybe you just felt trauma from being stuck in the house for almost a year due to the pandemic and COVID-19. Despite where you are, where in your life, you have officially experienced some type of trauma. And the most recent trauma is going to the store and trying to buy baby formula for your child. Or even fill your car up. Because now in some places, gas is as high as $10 a gallon. Could you imagine that if you got a big truck, $10 a gallon? Man, listen. At that point, it's best to invest in a damn bike. Or you know what? Get your exercise on. A lot of y'all, goals for the year was, I'm going to lose some weight. Well, listen, if these gas prices don't help you motivate you to lose weight, then I don't think anything will at this point. The point is, inflation has caused us some sort of trauma because financially, we all experience trauma every single time we go to the supermarket, to go food shopping, or to the gas station. Or if we just go to the local Walmart or Target to buy baby formula, we experience some set of trauma due to inflation or something that happened in our past life or our current life. But let's look at the future. Let's look at the future, people, of what we need. We need to start a revolution, people. No, not that type of revolution where you're trying to overthrow the government and all that. I'm not saying that type of revolution. I'm talking about mental revolution. We need to start a mental revolution to start to overcome some of this trauma. To overcome this trauma that we have experienced in our lives. It's time to start a revolution where we overthrow the government in our heads. The government in our heads that cause us to make some of the mental choices that we have, that distinguish us to be who we are today. To be who we are or lack of who we want to be. Because some of us want to be in a place that we're not. And we're not experiencing these places and we're not getting to this place in our life is because our own mental trauma is holding us back. We can sit here and say it's due to, lack of support, lack of motivation, lack of finances, lack of opportunity, but a lot of times it's due to mental trauma that we experience. Because we fix everything in our lives. If somebody said your toaster broke, you'll win buy a new toaster. If your TV broke, you'll win buy a new TV. If your car started making noise, well, some of y'all put a sticker over the check engine light and didn't, act like it don't exist. But for those of you who actually fix your car, if something went wrong with your car, you get it fixed. But when something goes wrong with your head, we just leave it. We leave it. We leave the mental trauma of experience through the pandemic of being forced to stay in the house. And some people, that was trauma. If you're not an introvert, being stuck in the house, not being able to come around family members, losing family members, and not truly being able to properly grieve or to properly bury them, cause some sense of trauma in your life. Dealing with these high inflation of gas prices now, you go to the gas pump and you talking about put 20 on 2, and now 20 on 2 usually at least get you close to a full tank, only get you closer to a quarter of a tank or a little closer to a bar before E now, then you experiencing some set of trauma because now you're trying to figure out how you're going to stretch that $20 to get to the next pay. And that trauma affects you. We experience trauma through our past, child abuse, physical, mental abuse, domestic violence. It's so many different forms of trauma. The point is not to sit here and go through a whole soliloquy about how much trauma that we can experience and all different levels of trauma, but to how we can then overcome it. How can we get ourselves through this trauma that we're experiencing? How can we overthrow the government in our head that's causing us to be at a standstill, that's causing us to be at a stalemate, that's causing us so much damage and so much hurt and so much pain that sometimes it's hard to even get out of the bed? How do we overthrow this government in our heads? How do we start a mental revolution? Well, first you have to do what they do with AA meetings. What's the first step in alcohol or drug anonymous? What's the first step, people? Well, in case you don't know or never actually been to a meeting, first step is acknowledging you have a problem. And with mental health, we have to acknowledge we have a problem. We have to first acknowledge we have a problem. See, that's a difficult step right there. I'm going to tell you why it's a difficult step. Because depending on what household you live in, your family values, a lot of times admitting that you have a mental disorder is a no-no. That's an absolute no-no. You can't say that you have mental disorder because a lot of times the people in your family see that as a sense of weakness, a weakness inside you. It's a taboo subject in a lot of houses, especially black homes, you're not allowed to talk about. You're not allowed to acknowledge the mental issues that experience in your life. And a lot of times what we do is we ignore these things. We ignore this problem because we don't want to express it. We don't want to talk about it. It's like Bruno. You know, that movie was called El Canto. I think it's called El Canto. It's like, you know, we don't talk about Bruno, and everybody walking around singing this song. We don't talk about Bruno. I don't know the song. I don't understand what's so hype about it. I mean, you know, the Frozen song's a little better, even though I don't like Frozen. Hope my daughter don't get Frozen. Let's end off the subject. The point is, it's like when they talk about, we don't talk about Bruno. It's like that in the house. We don't talk about Bruno. We don't talk about mental health. We don't talk about mental health. You know, they need to be singing that song. We don't talk about mental health in our house and dealing with it. So taking the first step is hard because you have to acknowledge you have an issue. And a lot of times, acknowledging that you have an issue is opening yourself up to a whole different level of scrutiny from your family members, your loved ones who are going to look at you like, we don't talk about Bruno. I mean, mental health. We don't talk about Bruno or mental health. We don't talk about those issues. We don't talk about anybody who experienced those issues. I know Uncle Freddie had mental health, and that dude used to walk around, you know what I mean, with nothing but a trench coat on and a brown paper bag with nothing in it, or his own pee in a bottle. He was walking around like that because Uncle Freddie had mental health issues. We don't talk about Uncle Jacob, who was in the army, and once he came back from the army, he used to just sit in his room, in a dark room, and just stare at the wall all day because he was in Vietnam. We don't want to talk about that trauma. We don't talk about that. It's like Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno. We don't talk about our uncles like that, okay? We don't talk about mental health. But the point is dealing with these sense of things. Dealing with this mental health is the first step, is acknowledging it. But how can you acknowledge something if it's so difficult to talk about? When we talk about family curses, and some people have misconstrued what I mean about curses and thinking that means that black people are cursed, that's not what I'm saying. A family curse is essentially when we pass something down, something negative down to different family members. It's not saying that we're actually cursed, but we're passing down a curse. We're passing down something that was wrong or went wrong in our lives. But that's not the point, people. We're talking about a mental revolution. Let me try to stay on task here. The point is actually acknowledging that you have a mental issue. Being brave, taking the first step, and understanding taking the first step is just like anything else in life. Taking the first step means you're going to open yourself to a level of scrutiny because you're walking away from the group. You're stepping out on a ledge by yourself. And it takes courage. It takes fearlessness to do it. But it also takes acknowledging and the want to cure yourself, to reinvent yourself. We talk about the gas prices, right? If this don't make you lose price, $10 a gallon for gas don't make you lose weight. There ain't nothing gonna make you lose weight. Right now, you need to get a bike or a scooter or something. You even get a motor scooter, the electric one. You ride that thing around because it's cheaper than paying for gas. But the point is, if this doesn't make you fearless, step out and do this, then nothing will. You gotta be fearless to step out and actually acknowledge that you have mental health. You gotta put past whatever your family members want to think or say about you when they talk about. We don't talk about Bruno. I ain't Bruno, or I am Bruno, and y'all want to talk about me. Y'all want to see me because I want to see me, and I want to see me get help. That's the first step, is acknowledging that you have issues. Next step is to finding someone comfortable you can talk to. Here's the thing, people. Here's the thing when you look for a therapist or a counselor. Here's the thing, it's important. Don't get discouraged when you go look and seek out a counselor, and the counselor that you talk to or a person you meet, you're like, no, yeah, I'm not really vibing with this person. I don't feel like this person understands me. Sometimes, it takes time, and you have to properly find the person that you connect with, that you feel comfortable with, that you feel comfortable talking to. And not every single psychiatrist or therapist or counselor is going to fit that bill. You have to know who you feel comfortable with. You got to know yourself. You got to know, who do you feel comfortable talking to? Open up to a man, a woman? Is it of a person of your own race or hue? What is it? Religious backgrounds? You got to acknowledge and think about all the things when you look for a counselor. And try to find someone who fits the bill of what you need to make you comfortable. Because it's very important when you open up. Because when you open up, you have to understand something. You're opening yourself up to be vulnerable. You're opening yourself up to be a vulnerable state. You're opening and releasing yourself to be completely vulnerable and exposed. And when you expose yourself, the worst thing about it is exposing yourself and allow yourself to be vulnerable to someone who don't see you. What does that mean? Let's say don't see you. If you ever watch Avatar, I'm talking about a whole nother movie now. If you ever watch Avatar, they had a thing, they say, I see you. And when a person says to you, I see you, it means they see beyond the mask that you wear. And a lot of times dealing with mental health, you wear a mask, okay? We'll get to that later, or maybe we won't. We'll try to get to that later. But the point is, they see behind the mask. They see behind whatever you're trying to portray, whatever you're trying to make people think about you see. They see behind your insecurities. They see behind your strengths, your ego. They see into your soul, and they see you. Whoever you truly are, not your nickname, not your name, your cousin, or your aunt, or your uncle, or your grandma came up with you, whether it's Pookie, or little Ray Ray, wherever your name is, not that. They see Ray Sean. They see Larry. They see little Jessica. They see Jessica, not little Jessica, Jessica. They actually see you, and you have to make sure the person sees you beyond anything, that they're not looking to judge you. Because when you become vulnerable, so you start speaking on stuff that, mistakes you made. We all made mistakes, me included. We made mistakes and we've done things that we're not so proud of. Things that we rather not talk about and expose because we're worried about people judging us for the mistakes we made. So you got to make sure that you're talking to someone who's not going to judge you. And that's why sometimes it's important to go outside family, okay? And family and friends is important sometimes when you're dealing with a mental revolution. We're dealing with a revolution of our minds and trying to re-identify ourselves, to overthrow the government in our head that's causing us all these conflicts, trauma that keep reappearing, that keep revisiting, that keeps controlling our future and our current state of mind. We have to look beyond our family and friends. And let me tell you why you have to do that, people. Because we talked about vulnerability, opening yourself up, things that you're going to have to expose that previously you may be embarrassed or you're worried that you're going to be ashamed of, or people are going to look down on you. See, family members, friends, they love you. They love you. They truly do. And and I use the word family and friends because there's a difference between relatives and associates, but we're not going to get into that today. Maybe another subject. The point is family and friends love you. But a lot of times family and friends also don't see you. See, they see you as little Ray Ray, Pookie, little Jessica, little Erica, and they see you as that person. So when they see you as that person, they looking at you and accepting whatever mask or whatever identity you put out there. They may see little intricacies in you, intricacies are, can't think of the other word, the little things that you have. They may see little things, but they don't really see you. And when you open yourself up to identify the insecurities, the deep insecurities, and the shame that's in your life, then not only are they start to be exposed to really who you are, and they have to really then embrace and figure out after they get to really know you, do they really like you? But you're also putting yourself in jeopardy of two things: losing a family member or a friend, but also setting yourself up for judgment of a person who likes you and who already either put you on a pedestal or who already created in their minds who they have identified you as being. And what I mean by that is some people have identified you as being a certain way. To our children, a dad is a superhero, We are a superhero. We're bigger than the most famous wrestler. We're the strongest man in the world. We're Superman. We're Batman. We're the Green Lantern. We're Captain America. We're Iron Man. To our children, we are a superhero. Meaning we can defeat anything. We can lift the car up. We can fly faster than a speeding bullet to our kids. So a father is that to his child. But just using this example. But if you expose your vulnerabilities, your fears, and all this to your child, then that Superman starts to disappear in your child's eyes. He starts to see you as, that's just a regular human being and not a superhero. And that can not help you in the quest of your revolution to overthrow the government inside your head that's causing you so much trauma, hurt, and pain. What it can do is it can turn the other way. It can become another form of trauma because now that look, that light in your child's eyes has then dissipated. It disappeared, and now your child looks at you in a different way. And that's a whole different other cause of trauma right there. And that's why go outside your family and friends to seek help to prevent that. See, if a personal stranger, someone you're paying, they don't have in their mindsets a certain identity for you. They're not looking at you. So there's no secret identity you peel back. There's no strip off Superman's cape in his little drawers that he walk around. He walk around in some briefs, and some tights. But they'll strip all that off only to find Clark Kent, the guy working in the newspaper, as the identity behind it. They're not stripping you down. They're looking at you as a clean slate, as a plain board that's waiting to be drawn and the identity to be created as they speak to you. They're looking at you and seeing who you truly are and giving you the chance to show and to create your true identity. And that's the difference of finding someone who doesn't know you. Going outside and find someone that you're comfortable with, and I'm going to say this and reiterate this in case you didn't hear me or I kind of went off on tangent and lost you on this. Find someone that you're comfortable with. Find someone, whether it's the same hue, same gender, same race, same religious background, whatever the case is. Don't look at it like, oh, I'm being judgmental, or I'm being racist, or I'm being biased. We all have a comfortability. And again, this is us going into our vulnerability, going into deepest levels of our vulnerability, digging into dangerous parts of our subconscious. We need to make sure when we're doing this and we're going down this road that you are in a place of comfort, a place where you feel safe, because this is a place where you're going to get to a dangerous place where you're going to start to really identify and expose yourself. And when you expose yourself, you want to do it in the most comfortable setting and with someone that you feel comfortable with. So take the time and find someone that you're comfortable with and make sure that they're committed with your growth, with your success as you are. This is not a short journey, people. That's another thing. People think that going to psychiatrists and starting this mental revolution is like this short thing. Like, okay, I go talk to somebody 1, 2, 3 times, and then guess what? I'm healed. You know what I mean? They give me a magic pill, and we had this whole conversation, and I expose all the traumas of my issues with my dad or my mom, or, with my uncle or my aunt, or, work or finances or what happened. And I talk 3 times, and it's over. I'm good, I'm healed, they put their hands on me, put a cross on me, and they say, the Father, the Son, God, I'm done, I'm healed, I'm good. No, it doesn't work that way. People, it doesn't work that way. It don't work that way. You don't heal overnight. And you got to understand, your trauma wasn't created overnight. Whether it was through the pandemic where you sat in your house for a year, or, the gas prices was rising over time. We didn't jump from $2.45 a gallon to $10. It happened over time. It gradually happened. It felt like it happened overnight, but the point is, it gradually raised. The trauma that you experience in your life gradually happened in your life, whether it's from family trauma, whatever the trauma, it gradually happened. So your progression into destroying it, to peeling it back, to healing from it is a progression that's going to take time. It's going to be a process that happens over time where you slowly heal from it. There is no fast way to heal from this trauma that you experience in your life. So a lot of times you have to commit yourself. You have to commit yourself, but the important step is step 3 of creating a revolution of your mental health and overthrowing the government in your head that's causing these mental issues in your life. Step 3 is this, people, not putting a timetable on your healing. You didn't put a timetable on your trauma. You can't put a timetable on your healing. You have to allow yourself however time it takes to heal. You have to allocate whatever amount of time it takes to heal. And that's part of the commitment to it is allocating, it may take a year. It may take 3 weeks. Hell, it may take just 3 sessions. It may take 30 years, but you have to commit yourself to the healing process and understand, don't focus on the steps and how long it takes. Focus on the end result. This is what I say to my children. I learned this in Will Smith book, so I'm kind of biting this, but I like it, so I'm biting it. Will Smith, when for y'all who didn't read the Will Smith book and plan to, skip over this part. But the point is, he was up there building the wall for his dad, and he was complaining. Him and his brother was complaining about building the wall. And his dad said, "Stop complaining and focus on the wall. Just focus on putting one damn brick at a time. Focus on one brick at a time." And when you building the revolution to fight back and take over your mental health, you have to stop focusing on the whole picture and the end result of destroying and reclaiming victory over your mental health, and focus on today. Focus on one problem at a time. Focus on one issue at a time. Focus on healing for one thing at a time, and make that your focus. Make that your point. Make that your destination. Let me focus on one thing, because a lot of times we have many things. It's not one thing that causes it. It's not one person who caused it. Whether it was physical or mental abuse, it's multiple people. It's the person who did it. It's the person who you feel allowed it to happen. You got the people who you felt didn't protect you. You got the people who you felt was bystanders. So you have to focus on healing and forgiving one person at a time. Most importantly, you got to focus on forgiving yourself to go on through this. You have to focus at one person at a time. Don't put a timetable. Commitment. Don't put a timetable. Commit to finishing and finally getting past this. But before that, you have to focus on this, people. One person at a time. Focus on you. Focus on the person who was a bystander. Then focus on the person who you felt put you in the situation. Then focus on the person who didn't protect you. Then focus on the person who did commit this trauma to you. And if you focus on one at a time, you're going to see not only progress, you're going to feel the change in you, and you're going to understand it's working. Step 4, people. Step 4. The most important part of the whole process, in my opinion, is forgiving yourself. A lot of times we go through trauma, no matter what it is, whether it's physical, mental abuse, or high gas prices, or whether it's inflation with baby formula, or if it's being stuck in the pandemic. You might say, well, how do you blame yourself for that? You will be surprised. You blame yourself because you feel like gas prices are so high and baby formula and inflation is so high because I voted for Joe Biden as president, and you start to blame the president, but instead of blaming the president, you might start saying to yourself, well, I voted for him, so it's my fault because I shouldn't have voted for him. So that's start blaming yourself. A lot of times in trauma, when someone physically or mentally abused you, whether it's a family member or a stranger, we start blaming ourselves, like maybe I did something or said something to make them think that it was okay to abuse me. We blame ourselves. When people take advantage of us, whether they using our credit or something, we say, well, maybe I should have had more courage. Even though I was only 7 years old, I should have more courage and know how to stand up and tell my mom or my dad, my aunt, my uncle, or my grandparents, no, you can't put that cable bill or that phone bill in my name. We start to blame ourselves, thinking that we're responsible for the pain and trauma that we experience in our lives. And it starts being a thing where we stop blaming the person who acted or did hurt us or cause the trauma in our lives, and we turn that from that person who committed the crime to turn it into ourselves as if we did it. And we blame ourselves where we stop becoming the victim and we becoming the person, the predator, the person who caused all this trauma in our lives. So the important step is confronting yourself. And confronting yourself, it's not mean blaming yourself. It doesn't mean pointing at you should did this, you should did that, and you should still talked about this and that, and you should have stood up for yourself. You should have stopped being so fearless. No, I'm not talking about that part. Confront yourself. What I mean by confront yourself is confronting that child in you, confronting that young man in you, young woman, that person who was the past version of yourself, confronting yourself and saying to yourself, it's okay to make mistakes. We don't learn much from our success. I'm not saying we won't learn anything from success because that's a complete lie. People say it, but it's a complete lie. We learn from our success. We do. We do learn from our success, but we learn more from our failures. Okay? It sucks, but it's the truth. You learn more from your failures. You learn about yourself. You learn about what you did wrong, what you didn't do wrong. You learn the limits that you put on your life. There's so many things you learn from yourself. So in the mistakes that you made, that you felt that you made, when you confront yourself, you have to acknowledge first, it's okay to make mistakes. We all make them. You have to also understand that it's okay not to know everything. It's not ignorant when you don't know something. It's ignorant when you don't want to learn something. Let me say it one more time to the people in the back, because I don't think they heard it. Let me say it one more time, because the people in the back, I don't think you heard it. It's not ignorant. It's not ignorant when you don't know something. It's ignorant when you don't want to learn something. When someone's trying to teach you something and you refuse to learn it is what makes you ignorant. What makes you a coward is not because you were 7 years old, wouldn't stand up to your parents. What makes you a coward is now that you are older and you recognize you need to stand up, you're not standing up against that mental health, that animal, that issue, that predator that still remains inside your head, that still governs you to cause all kinds of issues and restraints on your life and controlling you. What makes you a coward is not being fearless. Fearless and not being afraid to confront fear to overcome these issues and to truly get the help you need. You have to confront yourself and tell yourself it's okay to heal. Forgive yourself if you felt you was wrong. Forgive you, because if I don't forgive me, I can't forgive no one else. It's okay. Even if no one else forgives me, I have to forgive me. It's okay. You gotta give yourself that hug. Sometimes it's a physical hug where you literally hugging yourself tight. Sometimes it's a metaphorical hug where you're just mentally giving yourself, your younger self, a hug and telling yourself it's okay. I know you feel like you disappointed me, your future self, you disappointed me, you failed me, but you didn't. You taught me. You made me stronger because I'm not dead. I'm not dead from it. Yeah, I'm experiencing some kind of trauma. Yes, I have some kind of anxiety and stuff, but I'm not dead. I'm still here. I'm still walking around. So what you did was you made me stronger, but you also gave me the ability and you gave me an opportunity to overcome this, to not only show my previous self strength, but my current self, and more importantly, my future self, that I can overcome anything because I overcame this, and that I can acknowledge myself and forgive myself, but I'm capable of making mistakes, but I'm more capable of overcoming those mistakes and finding my greater self. You have to confront yourself in the most positive way, with the most positive influence that you possibly can, to push yourself to truly find your greatness and your peace. Give yourself permission to forgive, not only yourself, but for others. But only when you forgive yourself do you forgive others. Confront your previous self. Mental health is a serious issue that affects our community, and I get it. Again, it's like that movie, El Canto. I think that's the way it's called. People correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about how Nelson's name in the movie, but El Canto. When they talk about, we don't talk about Bruno, when they sing that song and everybody running around talking, we don't talk about Bruno, what you're really talking about is we don't talk about mental health issues in our family, and that it's not only taboo, it's a no-no in our family to talk about mental health. So we need to start talking about Bruno. We need to acknowledge Bruno. The little girl in that movie was incredibly brave to go past what they don't talk about and did talk about, to seek out Bruno and to get information to truly heal that house that was broken in that family. How about it, people? Now it's time for you to heal not only the house that's broken inside you, but complete a revolution inside your mental capability to heal the family trauma that you experienced and your family experienced. Get over it, people. Let's get past it. Get the help. Follow the steps. And I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Past and Present Podcast. Remember to like and to comment and subscribe to my channel. Comment and let me know that you stopped by and that you checked out and you heard what I said and you was listening. And until next time I talk to you, people, stay healthy. But more importantly, stay woke, stay focused, stay tuned.